We spoke in the previous Shurim that MiDeraBanan, the mitzvah saseh of Tekias Shofar, is 9 kailas, 3 truas, and they should be sandwiched, means there should be a tekiah lefanei, a tekiah acharei, MiDeraBanan. However, we do 30. Either we do 30 because Safek Deraisa, we don't know how to do the trua, so those 9 turn into 30. Or we do 30 to do all the different minhagim, what the trua is. So that's 30 kailas. And let's say when you blow in the afternoon for ladies, you blow 30 kailas. That's the 30 kailas, the ikar adin of 30 kailas. However, we blow more than 30 kailas. And if you add it up from the beginning of when we start blowing till the end of davening, that's a total of 100. At least in most places, we blow 100 kailas. We'll Be'ez Hashem discuss and go through today how does it add up to 100, and how are they divided up, split up through davening. So again, we started off, we have 9, which really turns into 30 kailas, either Mesafik or like Rav Hai Goyim, so you have 30 kailas. The Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, Daf Tezvav Amud Aleph, Daf Tezayin Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Amar Reb Yitzchak, Lama Toikim Rosh Hashanah. Why do we blow shofar in Rosh Hashanah? So the Gemara says, Lama Toikim, what do you mean, why do we blow? Rachmana Amar Tiku, the Torah says you should blow, so what do you mean, why should you blow? So the Gemara says, Elo Lama Toikim Amerian Kishehin Yoshvim. Why do we blow Tekiyas Yoshev when we sit? Which is referring to the Tekiyas before Musaf. We don't actually sit, but sitting means you're allowed to sit. So Lama Toikin Kishem Yoshvim, why do we blow while sitting the Tekiyas Yoshev? V'Toikin Amerian Kishehin Oimdim, we blow again while standing, which means during Tfilas Musaf. So why do you blow twice? Technically 30 is enough. So why from 30 to 60? So the Gemara says, Kedei la'arviv hasatan. Meaning to say, if 30 is enough, why do we have to do once before Musaf and once in the middle of Musaf? So the Gemara says, la'arviv hasatan, which we'll get back to it soon, the explanation how it's ma'arviv hasatan. So we have 60 so far. 30 we blow Tekiyas Yoshev, which means the first 30 kailas when you make the bracha. And then we blow another 30 oimdin. What's oimdin? So the Mishnah, Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, the Mishnah says that we say Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars by Musaf. And we also blow by Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. So that's Oimdin is while saying Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. Amalei Rabbi Akiva, Einay Tekela Magla Ela Oimer Avis Gvuros Kedushas Hashem V'Koila Malchus V'Tekeya. You say Malchus and you blow Achronius V'Tekeya, Shofars V'Tekeya. So you blow Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. So that's Tekiyas Yoshev is before Musaf, and Tekiyas Omid is the 30 kailas with Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. Really, we could have just blown the 30 kailas. I'll say the Malchus, Achronius, and Shofar, so we could skip the 30 kailas while Miyoshev. What do you have to blow twice? So that the Gemara says, Kedei la'arviv hasatan, which means we have to blow 30 kailas. And if there's a din MiDeraBanan to blow those 30 kailas, I'll say their habrachas with Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. So if that's the case, what do you have to blow an additional 30, the first 30? So that the Gemara says, la'arviv hasatan. We're going to get to it soon, where these additional 30 are, and how they're split up. How they're split up in the Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. So we have 60 kailas so far. 30 de Miyoshev, while the Baal Tekeya makes the bracha, and then we have 30 de Mu'umid, which means by Tfilas, Musaf, Malchus, Achronius, and Shofars. So far we're holding by 60 kailas. How do we get to 100? The Makoyer is a Aruch. Tosfos brings it Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. The Aruch says that we blow 100 kailas on Rosh Hashanah because the mother of Sisra when her son did not return, was not returning from the army, and she wasn't sure of his status, if he's going to come back or not. All along, she was crying, and she ended up crying 100 kailas, 100 cries. So therefore, we blow 100 cries, 100 kailas. Now, very good. Yitzi asked, who cares? So these two parts to the question, who cares? First of all, how does it even come into the picture? So first of all, the Gemara brings already the pasuk of Sisera, and the Gemara explains what type of cry. The Gemara brings it. If it's a long cry, a short cry, and the Gemara discusses it by the mother of Sisera. But it's still a question, like Yitzi's asking, who cares that she cried? What is it relevant to Rosh Hashanah? It's true she cried 100 cries. Why does that tell us 100 kailas? Yes? Yeah, Yitzi's asking, why did we pick her more than any other ones? Let's say like Haman, when he had his Nefila, so why over here? And technically the question is that just like her son was a Rasha, she was probably a Rasha also. So why are we doing? Because she cried. So these two pshatim, it's bedoima, but the idea is the same. Rabbi Yashiv explains the reason why we bring the 100 kailas, why do we copy and bring the 100 kailas of the mother of Sisera? He says like this, a person many times feels secure, betuach. It comes Rosh Hashanah, it's going well. Whether if it's ruchnius, his ruchnius is working out, he's davening, learning properly, his gashmius is working out, he's making money. A person can feel secure. We blow the 100 kailas over Rosh Hashanah to remind ourselves what happened by the mother of Sisera. Sisera had a mighty army. Derech HaTeva, there was no way that he would lose. It was clear that he should win. Like it's Mavur over there, it was a nest, min hashamayim, they were loichem the mocham, and therefore Klal Yisrael obviously won. But Derech HaTeva, in science, he should have won. He had 900 metal, he had tanks, he was a mighty army. And still, his mother cried and was unsure what's going to be. Right? When did she cry? She wasn't sure if he's coming back or not. Says Rabbi Yashiv, it's to be Ma'orer Rosh Hashanah. A person should understand that nothing's secure, nothing's guaranteed. Even if a person has everything going for him well, a person has to daven. You don't know what's going to be the coming year, the years to come. So to be Ma'orer, to waken a person up, like the Rambam says, Uri Yeshenim Hashanashem, but how do we get woken up? By seeing that the mother of Sisera, even though it was clear that her son should come back from Milchama, she wasn't sure. Rav Schwab says a little bit differently. This Rabbi Atlinger, the one who spoke here, told me, B'Shem Rav Schwab, and he said, also along these lines, but the idea is, just like Sisera's mother, when she cried, was at the time that she wasn't sure if he's going to come back or not, so too, a person has to know that his din, it's unsure what's going to be in the year to come. In other words, it should get a person thinking and working and to utilize the time of Rosh Hashanah because it's unsure what's going to be. So those are both along the lines that we blow 100 kailas over Rosh Hashanah to be ma'orer the person that nothing's betuach, and the Yom Adin is that day. That's the reason for 100 kailas. What's the breakdown of the 100 kailas? How do you get to 100? So far we have 60. What do you mean? If you blow less, so then we're blowing 30 because that's what you have to do MiDeraBanan or MiDeraBanan. Because she cried 100. No, we want to remember that story. And she cried 100 kailas, so therefore we do 100. If we do 120, so it's not... In other words, you're right, along the line of the 100, we still didn't remember. You have to wait till the whole 100 to remember. But we want to... The idea is, while blowing all along, we know we blow over Rosh Hashanah 100 kailas. And it's to remind us that Rosh Hashanah, nothing's betuach. What's the breakdown? How do we get to 100 kailas? So these two mahalchim, these two ways how to get to 100 kailas. First we'll go with the way that Tosfos brings, Tosfos that says 100 kailas. How does he break down that we have 100 kailas? So he says the following: 30 kailas by Tekias Shofar. That's 30. Means before Musaf we do 30. Then these 30 kailas by the Tfilas Halachash with Malchus, Acharnis, and Shofris, but these 30, 10 by each. We're going to see soon how to split up the 30 kailas with Malchus, Acharnis, and Shofris, but these 30 by Tfilas Halachash, by Shtila Shmeinesser before the Baal Tfilah does Chazar Sashatz. Then another 30 by Chazar Sashatz. So we have 30, 60, 90. And then the remainder 10, which mostly the ones who do this mahalach of 30 and then 30 by Lachash, Shtila Shmeinesser, and then another 30 by Chazar Sashatz, we're still missing 10. Those remainder 10, they do middle of Kaddish to Skabel, right after the end of Musaf. The Imru Amein, before Teskabel, they blow those last 10 kailas. So that's 100 kailas. However, not all blow Tfilas Halachash, which we'll see soon. Not all blow by Shtila Shmeinesrei. So how did they get to 100 kailas? What did you say? 30 the same by when the Baal Tekei, you make the bracha. Skip the 30 of Lachash. The second 30 is by Chazar Sashatz, like we saw. There's a din to do 30 with Malchus, Acharnis, and Shofris. Then, after Kaddish, usually Nusach Ashkenaz does those 30 after Kaddish to Skabel. Not a middle Kaddish, but after Kaddish. And then the remainder 10, they do by L'David. Interesting, they do 40, but they don't do 40 together. You're aware of some places that do 40 together? 30 at the end after Kaddish, and then another 10 after by L'David at the end of davening. In these two ways, how to add up the 100 kailas, whether if you do 30 by Lachash, or if you don't do it, is a machlokes, which really the makor of the 100 is the aruch, and the aruch says to blow by Tfilas Halachash. Other Rishonim say it as well, and it's also brought from the Arizal to do the 30 by Lachash. That's a lot the minhag of Nusach Svard. However, in Shulchan Aruch, when the Shulchan Aruch says to blow the 30 kailas and then 30 kailas, he doesn't say anything about blowing by Tfilas Halachash. It's not brought in Shulchan Aruch. And as of a matter of a fact, the Magen Avram says that if you don't have the minhag to blow the 30 kailas by Lachash, you shouldn't do it. If you have the minhag, of course don't change the minhag. But if you don't have the minhag, you have a shul, it's a new neighborhood, new development, it's the first year they're having a minyan over there. So again, if it's Nusach Svar, so that's really the minhag how they do it. But if it's unclear if to blow by Lachash or not, says the Magen Avram, the Mishnah Berurah brings it, don't blow by Tfilas Halachash. And the reason for that is, he says this is because it's mevalvel, which means it gets people confused, mixed up. It's hard to follow those tkiyas. Some people daven slower, so they're still in the middle of Malchus while they blow. It just confuses a person. Some people daven faster and then they have to wait. Even for the Baal Tekeya, it could be a little bit confusing if you have to daven slower, faster. Just last night I had the opportunity, I was going over with the Baal Tekeya and the Baal Makri. We went over all the different halachas and the practical. So if you do you must follow by Tfilas Halachash. The Baal Tekeya was telling me if you daven slower, faster, it's mevalvel. It could get a person, the tzibur, it could get people a little bit confused and mixed up. Therefore says the Magen Avram not to do it if you don't have that minhag. The Shulchan Aruch Harav as well brings, like the Magen Avram, Shulchan Aruch Harav, a lot goes with the Magen Avraham. I'll just read you the Lashon. V'yesh mekoyim shenoyegim litkaya beis pamim, to blow twice the 30 koilis. Echad b'tfilas lachash, the echad b'chazar sashatz. You blow 30 by 30 on Seder Malchus Rechrenis and Shayfers by Shtila Shmei Nesra, and another 30 by Chazar Sashatz. Avo b'mokoim she'ein minug. If there is no minug, ein lina koin l'tchatchila. In other words, don't be machadash the minug. If the minug is there, don't stop it. As of a matter of fact, the Shulchan Aruch Harav was noyig himself to blow b'tfilas halachash. He went like the minug of the Baal Shem Tov, which did like the Arizal, the Nusach Ari, yes, to blow b'tfilas halachash, so he didn't change. But in the Shulchan Aruch Harav, he writes that if there is no minug, not to do it. Interesting, the Avnei Nezer has a few tshuvas, and the Avnei Nezer holds against blowing by tfilas halachash, and in his shul they actually changed. They used to blow by tfilas halachash, and they changed. But again, like we mentioned clearly, it's b'mokim she'ein minig. If there is no minig, then you shouldn't go and blow by tfilas halachash. But of course, if there is a minig, like we saw clearly, don't change. If there is a minig, don't change the minig, and you mispal. Rabbi Zalman actually goes even a step further, and Rabbi Zalman says that if people, the minig, which means people are accustomed to blow, even by tfilas halachash, it could be missing for them. They'll feel a little bit missing of their Shmei Nesrei if there isn't a Tekias. So you should not stop doing it. So if the minig is not to do it, you don't do it. The minig is to do it, of course, you do it. And if there's no minig, then pashtus, you shouldn't do it. So again, we have now clearly 100 kailas, 30 by miyushiv. Everybody does lachash. Either you do it by shtila shmaneser or you do it at the end. These 30, everybody does by chazar sashatz. 30. How are those 30, or if it's even 30? How do we have 30 by chazar sashatz? There are 4 different ways how to split up these 30 kailas, or maybe not even 30 kailas. These 4 ways how to be noyig by the chazar sashatz, malchis, achronis, and shayfers. 2 are brought in the Mechaber. The Mechaber in Tov Kuf Tzadik Beis Sif Aleph. The Mechaber says the way how you blow. How do you blow by Malchis, Zechronis, and Shayfers? By Malchis you blow Tashrat. By Zechronis you blow Tashat. And by Shayfers you blow Tarat. In other words, how much are we going to blow over Malchis, Zechronis, and Shayfers? Just 10 koilas. That's the first way. By Malchis, Zechronis, and Shayfers, the Mechaber brings, you blow one variation of a trua by each one Tashrat. By Malchis a Tarat, by Malchis a Tarat, and by Zechroini, Tashat, and by Shayfris a Tarat. One set of 3 by each one, and a different one by each one. So that's 9 kailas. That's the first way in the Mechaber. The Mechaber brings another way. V'achshav noyagim litkoya, by Malchis 3 times Tashrat, by Zechroinius 3 times Tashat, and by Shofris 3 times Tarat, which I didn't get a chance. I wanted to be Mavar, if anybody knows, I wanted to be Mavar, if they have the Noyig Taka by the Svardim like that, if the Noyig this way. In other words, the second way that the Mechaber brings is also not how we do, the Pashtus. It's 30 kailas, not 10, it's 30. But the first, by Malchias, you do 3 times Tashrat, by Zechroinius 3 times Tashat, and by Shofris 3 times Tarat. So those are 30 kailas, but not the way how we do it. The third way is the Ramah, which the Ramah is Shitas Rabbeinu Tam and Taisvis. The Ramah says, "V'yashim shetoikim tashrat lamalchius v'chein lezechroinis v'chein leshofris." You blow just the tashrat by malchius, and the same tashrat by zechroinis, and the same by shofris. So far we had one sheet in the Mechaber, 10 kailas, another sheet of 30, and now we have a sheet in the Ramah, also only 10 kailas. but a different 10 koilas, which means it's the same tashrat for Malchus, the same tashrat for Zechronius, and the same tashrat for Shofris. This, what the Ramah brings, is the minig Ashkenaz, the minig by the Yakis. That's what they do. They blow tashrat by Malchus, tashrat by Zechronius, and tashrat by Shofris, which really causes that we don't have 100 koilas. We'll get back to that shortly, hopefully. So we have 3 ways so far. None of the 3 ways are the ways that we do. Again, we have a way to blow 9 koilas and each one a different type. Or we do 30, but by each one a set of 3 of the same. By Malchus tashrat, by Zechronius tashat. Or you do the same tashrat over by each of the 3, but again it's 9 koilas and it's not what we do. What do we do? The shla, we do like the shla, which says that it's the mufcher, haderach ha-mufcher, litkoya, how we do. By Malchus, tashrat, tashat, and tarat. By Zechronius, tashrat, tashat, and tarat. And the same thing by Shofris. So we have 4 ways how to blow. And if you don't blow the 2 ways of 30 koilas, you really will not end up with 100 koilas. So it happens to be back in Germany when the Yakis were noyig like this Ramah. They did not blow 100 koilas. I confirmed it with Rabbi Etlinger yesterday. Not all the Yakis, but at least many places, they didn't do 30 koilas by Chazar Sashatz, and they didn't have 100. He said now, in Rabbi Breuer's shul, they add in another 30 koilas. In other words, instead of what we added Nusach Ashkenaz. Now Nusach Ashkenaz does at the end 30 and then another 10. So they do 30 plus another 30. Because 10 they have by Chazar Sashatz. So what Nusach Ashkenaz does 30 at the end plus another 10, they do 30 plus another 30 to have 100. So we have over here so far, we have 100 koilas. The 30 koilas of Meyushev, everybody does. The 30 of Chazar Sashatz, not everybody, but we have 30 by Chazar Sashatz. Either 30 by Meyushev, by Shtila Shmei Nesser, or you do that at the end after Kaddish. And then we have another 10. On a practical note for a Baal Tekeya, it is a bit easier in Nusach Svard that it's split up as opposed to when after the whole davening and Musaf, by Kaddish Eskabel, you have to do another 30. It's easier when it's broken up. But again, these 2 Mahalchim and Klal Yisrael, either you do it by Lachash or you do it later. What's the reason that we blow 30 by Meyushev, which means really we could technically be Yoitza, the Deiraisa, while we anyways do 30 by Chazar Sashatz? What's the reason, the purpose to do 30 by Meyushev? The Gemara says, La'arva v'asatin. Rashi says that we're ma'arv the satan, we confuse the satan because the satan sees that we're ma'chav of the mitzvahs. What's the chivuv ha-mitzvahs by blowing and blowing again? What's the hezber of the chivuv ha-mitzvahs? How are we being machav of the mitzvahs? So Reb Chaim explains, it's brought Reb Chaim in stencils. Reb Chaim explains that the chivuv ha-mitzvahs is because really we could just skip the whole Tekias before Musaf. Skip all of that and go straight to Tekias by Malchus, Achraynis, and Shofris, and we could accomplish everything. These are Deiraisa to blow. And that, Lefi a lot of Rishonim, adds up to 30 koilas, because we don't know. And then there's a Chiyuv MiDeraBanan to blow those 30 koilas. When do you blow the 30 koilas? I'll say their Malchus, Achraynis, and Shofris. We could really accomplish it all in one shot and just blow it with Malchus, Achraynis, and Shofris. Why do we blow 30 before Musaf? 11 o'clock Tekias. Why do we blow it? Let's just be Yoitze everything at the same time by Chazar Sashatz. That is l'chavav hamitzvos l'arav ha'satan, that we want to do the deraisa separate and the derabanan separate, to show we have a chiv deraisa, we want to do the mitzvah deraisa, and then to be yoytze derabanan, to be yoytze the mitzvah derabanan. So we do it separately to show we're happy to be makayim the mitzvah deraisa, and we're happy to makayim the mitzvah derabanan. How do we show it? Because technically we could do everything combined, be yoytze the deraisa and be yoytze the derabanan. We do it separately to show that we're happy to do the deraisa and we're happy to do the derabanan. We're happy to do the deraisa, so we blow the Tekias that were only yoytze the deraisa, and then we blow the Tekias later, which is we were already yoytze the deraisa, and now we're doing the derabanan. Lamaisa, to be Messiah, just one more hashlama, l'hashlama sa'inyan in the 100 koilas. The last Tekiah, the last koil, we do a Tekiah Gedola. The Shulchan Aruch, when the Shulchan Aruch brings it, the Shulchan Aruch actually doesn't say Tekiah Gedola, the Shulchan Aruch says Trua Gedola. And when the Shulchan Aruch brings it, it's an additional koil. The Shulchan Aruch only has 60 koilas, 30 of Miyoshev, and 30 or maybe even less, the Tekias de Mu'omid. You add on one more at the end, a Trua Gedola. So it ends up being, if these 60, it's 61. However, how our minhag is to blow 100 koilas, we don't add on another coil, and besides that we don't add on another coil, that remainder coil, that long coil is not a true, it's a Tekiah. We do a Tekiah Gedola. So at the end of the 100 koilas is a Tekiah Gedola. However, besides that Tekiah Gedola, and most Machzorim bring it, at the end of the first set, you do a Tekiah Gedola at the end to show that we finished. That's the Tekiah Gedola at the end. However, there's a Tekiah Gedola that a lot have the minhag. The Mishnah Berurah brings it. The Mishnah Berurah brings obviously the Tekiah Gedola at the end. Tavkuf Tzadik Vav Aleph. Aval Einanu Noyigim came to do a Trua Gedola. Rak Besiyim Tekiah Achroina Shal Hashlamas Mea Koilas. And Yemarach Vatekeya Marach Ba Yosem Ashar Tekiyas. However, the Maril, and it's brought in the Siddur of Yaakov Emden, to blow a Tekiah Gedola also at the end of the first 30. I'll just read the Lashon of the Maril. Which he's referring to the last of the 30. That the koilos were finished. Which is obviously talking about the first 30 koilos, and then he brings a raya. So therefore you do a Tekiah Gedola as well at the end of the first 30. So we have 30 is in the deraisa. Another 30 is to be Yoitza Kishehem Oimdim. And then we have the Aruch, we do 100 because the mother of sister cried 100. And we also just finished up, and we see that when you finish the 100 koilas, or some even say after the first 30 koilas, you do a Tekiah Gedola. Have a good Shabbos and a Ksiva V'Chasima Toiva.